The morning sun cut through the floor-to-ceiling glass windows of the Harrington Towers' 42nd floor boardroom, casting long golden beams across the mahogany table where the future of a billion-dollar empire was about to be decided. Marcus Williams stood at the door, dressed in his finest pinstripe suit, a single envelope clutched in his hand. His jaw was tight, his eyes were calm. He had been the right-hand man of Edmund Harrington, the founder of Harrington Global Industries, for over 12 years. He had poured his blood, his time, and his loyalty into that company when nobody else believed it would survive. He had expected grief when Edmund passed away 3 weeks ago. He had not expected this. Seated at the head of the table, leaning back in the leather executive chair like she had been born in it, was Victoria Harrington, Edmund's daughter from his first marriage. A woman Marcus had met exactly 4 times in 12 years. A woman who had never once visited her father's company. A woman who had publicly called the business boring at a gala just 2 years prior. And yet, here she was, laughing. "Marcus," she said, her voice dripping with amusement as she pointed directly at him, her perfectly manicured finger aimed like a weapon. "You actually showed up. I was told you might not come. I guess you're braver than I thought." The other executives seated around the table, men and women Marcus had worked alongside for years, shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. Some smiled nervously, others stared at the table. Victoria held up a document. "I have here a letter from my father's personal attorney confirming that I, Victoria Harrington, am the sole heir to Harrington Global Industries. Which means," she paused for dramatic effect, scanning the room with glittering eyes, "I'm the new heir here." Laughter rippled from 2 of the junior executives seated behind her. One of them, a man named Derek, who Marcus had personally mentored, smirked and leaned toward his colleague. Marcus looked down at the envelope in his hand. He breathed slowly. He had promised himself he would remain composed. He had promised Edmund he would protect what they had built, no matter what. "Stop talking nonsense," Marcus said. The laughter died instantly. Victoria's smile didn't fade, but her eyes sharpened. "Excuse me," I said. Marcus stepped forward, placing his envelope on the table gently, as if it were made of glass. "Stop talking nonsense, Victoria." A sharp silence swallowed the room. She straightened in her chair. "Do you have any idea who you're speaking to? I am the heir of this company. My father." "Your father," Marcus said quietly, "trusted me with something far more important than a title." He slid the envelope toward her. Victoria stared at it. She didn't move. Her confidence, so enormous just 30 seconds ago, suddenly flickered like a candle caught in a draft. "What is that?" she demanded. "Open it," Marcus said simply. The room held its breath. Even Derek, the smirking junior executive, had gone completely still. Victoria reached for the envelope with deliberate slowness, as if speed would be an admission of nerves. She tore it open and pulled out a thick folded document, legal paper, stamped and signed in multiple places, with the official seal of the Harrington Family Trust on the cover page. Her eyes moved across the first paragraph. Then she stopped. She read it again. Her face changed. The color drained from her cheeks. The laughing eyes went flat. The pointed finger curled back into her palm. "This," she whispered. "This can't be right. It's been verified by 3 independent attorneys," Marcus said. "Your father changed his will 14 months ago. After your last visit. The one where you told him he should sell the company and retire to a beach somewhere because, and I quote, 'this whole thing is just an embarrassing old man's vanity project.'" A woman near the back of the room, the head of operations, Patricia, pressed her lips together and looked away. She had heard that conversation. She had never forgotten it. "Edmund Harrington," Marcus continued, his voice steady and clear, "restructured the family trust and left controlling ownership of Harrington Global Industries to a charitable educational foundation, one that he and I built together over the past 4 years. A foundation that provides scholarships, mentorship, and business training to young people from underserved communities across the country." He paused. "He left you the family estate in Connecticut, his art collection, and a generous financial settlement. You will never have to work a day in your life. But this company, the people in it, the mission behind it, he trusted that to someone who actually cared about it." Victoria's jaw tightened. "You manipulated him. You isolated him from his own family and convinced a sick old man to Your father was not sick when he made this decision, Marcus said firmly. He was sharp, clear-minded, and fully aware of what he was doing. There are medical evaluations, witness testimonies, and 14 months of documentation to prove it. Your attorney already has copies. He looked around the table at the executives, his colleagues, his peers, people who had watched this unfold with wide, silent eyes. Edmund Harrington built this company from nothing because he believed that business could be a force for good. He believed that opportunity should not be determined by where you were born or how much money your family had. He believed in this team. Marcus gestured around the room. And he believed that legacy was not about a name on a building. It was about what you leave behind in the lives of other people. Victoria stood abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. She snatched the document from the table and turned toward the door. This isn't over, she said without looking back. No, Marcus agreed quietly. It's just beginning. The weeks that followed were exactly as turbulent as Marcus had anticipated. Victoria's legal team filed 3 separate challenges. Every one of them was dismissed. The will was airtight. Edmund had made sure of that. What surprised Marcus more than the legal battles was what happened inside the company itself. Derek, the junior executive who had smirked and laughed that morning, came to Marcus's office 2 days later. He stood in the doorway, looking younger and more uncertain than Marcus had ever seen him. "I'm sorry," Derek said. "I laughed because I was scared. I thought she was going to win and I didn't want to be on the wrong side." Marcus studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded once. "Sit down," he said. "We have a lot of work to do." That was the thing about Edmund Harrington's final lesson. It wasn't just directed at Victoria. It was directed at everyone who had chosen convenience over courage. Everyone who had laughed when they should have stayed silent. Everyone who had looked away when they should have spoken up. The Harrington Educational Foundation launched its first scholarship program 3 months later. 240 young people, from rural towns, from inner cities, from communities that had been told for generations that success was not meant for people like them, received full funding for business education and mentorship. Marcus stood at the podium at the launch event, in the same boardroom where Victoria had laughed and pointed and declared herself the heir to everything. He looked out at 240 faces full of uncertainty and hope. "Mr. Harrington believed," Marcus said, "that the most powerful thing one person can do for another is believe in them before they believe in themselves. That is what this foundation will do. That is what this company will do. That is what we will do." The room erupted in applause. Outside the glass windows, the city hummed and glittered, indifferent as always. But inside that room, something had shifted, something quiet and permanent, like the turning of a tide. Victoria Harrington never returned to the building. But 2 years later, a letter arrived at Marcus's office. No return address. Just a short note, handwritten on plain white paper. "I'm sorry I didn't know him the way you did. I think I understand now what he was trying to say. V." Marcus folded the letter carefully and placed it in his desk drawer, next to the last handwritten note Edmund had ever given him, a note that read simply, "Do good, Marcus. The rest will follow. La mañana iluminaba el piso 42 de la Torre Harrington, donde el futuro de un imperio de 1.000.000 de dólares estaba a punto de decidirse. Marcus Williams estaba de pie en la puerta, vestido con su mejor traje a rayas, con un sobre en la mano. Su mandíbula estaba tensa, sus ojos, tranquilos. Había sido el hombre de confianza de Edmund Harrington, fundador de Harrington Global Industries, durante más de 12 años. Había dedicado su sangre, su tiempo y su lealtad a esa empresa cuando nadie más creía que sobreviviría. Esperaba el luto cuando Edmund falleció 3 semanas atrás. No esperaba esto. Sentada en la cabecera de la mesa, recostada en el sillón ejecutivo como si hubiera nacido en él, estaba Victoria Harrington, la hija de Edmund de su primer matrimonio. Una mujer que Marcus había conocido exactamente 4 veces en 12 años. Una mujer que jamás había visitado la empresa de su padre. Una mujer que públicamente había llamado al negocio aburrido, en una gala apenas 2 años antes. Y sin embargo, aquí estaba, riendo. Marcus, dijo ella, con voz divertida, señalándolo directamente con el dedo. De verdad veniste. Me dijeron que quizás no vendrías. Supongo que eres más valiente de lo que pensaba. Los demás ejecutivos alrededor de la mesa se movieron incómodos. Algunos sonrieron nerviosamente. Otros miraron hacia abajo. Victoria